G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff, Ukraine War Update for the 22nd of July 2026. I'm your host, the author David Applegate, and as the war continues, I'll continue to bring you impartial news from both sides of the war. And boy, is there a lot of war today. Kiev is actually admitting to getting hit by drones. There was a few long-range strikes. Actually, Russia flew a Su-33 all the way to Odessa to carry out an attack. Unusual that they'd get that close, but there were also missile attacks. And yes, I suppose Russia just wants to keep their attacks fresh, while Ukraine continues with the long-range with the same 4 long-range drones and the same 2 missiles. And actually, a lot of these drones don't really make their way to Moscow on their own. No, they're using, well, actually, I haven't seen any. I've only seen reports of some alleged mothership able to deploy these drones. Again, a lot of the footage, however, coming from drone attacks is CGI, and you know it is CGI. And you never know what missile hit where and what drone hit where. Sometimes it's debris from blasts. And you have it, right? A drone crashed into a house. Was it jammed? Was it one of ours? Was it one of theirs? Was it an interceptor? Was it a combat drone? It didn't go off. And yeah, as you notice, a lot of places are empty. Yeah. Ukraine's population is becoming visibly empty. So we have activity, explosions, and shellings, but only a little bit of territorial grab today by Russia. It's a slow grind. Oh, they're back at the, well, they've taken a huge chunk here again. Now, they'd actually had tried this before and failed, and now Russia seems to be back at it and currently holding position. Seems to be this buffer zone is roughly about 5 kilometers in parts, but it's just, in some parts it's only about 1 kilometer. It's very thin in parts, and it's also haphazard, but it's not to say that they aren't fighting. They're not advancing. And, well, like I said, if you grind the Russian army to a halt for too long, the war is over. But in parts, they are still advancing, so they're going to keep going. And that's the way I think it is. And, yeah, very heavy fighting around this area. Of course, because they're pushing towards one of the key foundations of the Ukrainian foothold in Donetsk. And you say, wait, what do you mean foothold? See, Eastern Ukraine has never been part of Ukraine by map. Now, you can say, but the map says, yeah, it's like saying New Mexico's American. When? For how long? You know, when did it become American, and for how long will it remain American is the question you should be answering. And the same goes for Donbass. It was always the question. It wasn't always Ukrainian, so when did it become Ukrainian? And when you look into that, it really didn't become Ukrainian and still isn't Ukrainian. And they are fighting to get rid of the Ukrainians because of what they see as the perceived abuse by Ukraine and the corruption in Ukraine. And really, if you look at the original Minsk Accords, Ukraine would have walked away sweet. They would have had 20% of their economy intact. They wouldn't have lost 20% of their economy. They would have had their territory intact, and they would have, they wouldn't have nearly, 800 billion or whatever in potential losses, plus the population. So really, what glory do you see? I don't see no glory. I see people getting killed in Makilovka. I see people getting killed in Prevstovia, and I hear Zelensky whining about attacks on Savansk. Now, long-range shelling is imprecise, but you don't hear Ukraine saying, well, we didn't mean to shell all those people in Kursk, right? Or kill those 200 plus civilians in Kursk. No, you don't hear about that, do you? So all these people who want to clutch their pearls about morals, yeah, they got none. They're very selective in their morality. This is actually, it might be a little bit of territory lost here and only a little bit gained up here. So it's not looking... Yeah, and the quiet front is... Oh, where's Ed? Where's Ed? Hey, Ed, you still out there, man? Want to tell me how the Russians lost all that artillery and can't fight anymore? God, the quiet front's warm again. It happens from time to time. God, I love making fun of trolls. They are so predictably stupid. Now the Russians are, seems to be wanting to flank Donetsk, or they are trying to push north. Yes, pushing north in on areas, but they also have teams clearing out the Ukrainian infiltrators from Krasnokovia. So where things are at, I think they're trying to clear the road. Still trying to clear the road is where I think things are at. Trying to clear this road, and that's why they're opening up on this to cut off the Ukrainians. But, yeah, again, clashes near doesn't exactly pinpoint where the clashes occurred. Okay, these are preset markers on a map where, yeah. So, again, a lot of activity today. Big push. And we won't know the results for 24 to 48 hours of these pushes. But yesterday's and the day before's pushes do not seem to be yielding much results either. And so this is why I think, although there are here and there's on the battlefield, and more here's than there's, and lots of changes to the battlefield, but again, it's only smidgens here and there from each side. I think this is why we see a major change, and that is Ukraine for some time has been, at least 2 months, probably longer, knowingly and deliberately targeting the Russian economy, and so now Russia is targeting the Ukrainian economy. Since they won't stop attacking shipping, Russia is now attacking shipping. You seize a tanker, they'll damage a tanker, and they'll sue you in international court to get their tank through their proxies, of course, because you remember tankers are rarely registered in the country of origin. It's a scam, big old scam. Long ago, companies have given up all pretense of registering ship. It's all about registration, shipping registries and ownership. All right, the fees in some countries are way lower than others, and a lot of countries allow their ports to be used to register ships, with shipping companies often conglomerates from multiple countries, not just one. And China registering a lot of ships in Africa, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, for sanction busting, exactly. And one of these days, Ukraine's going to blow up one of these precious Chinese ships, and China's going to, make them feel the pain. Don't know how, don't know when, don't know if. Ukraine may be careful and only target ships they know they can get away with hitting. That's the precarious nature of war. Neutral shipping should be neutral, but in today's day and age, a lot of countries seem to think that Ukraine is allowed a certain privilege. And that privilege, of course, is also extended to the sanctions of Iran, where Iran is targeting indiscriminate shipping as well. A lot of them are turning out to be Indian. Now, both Iran and India are Iran and Ukraine are targeting neutral ships, and a lot of them turning out to be India. Well, that's going to be a big pickle, isn't it? Now, for now, you might not think pissing off India, but in the long term, yeah, it will start to affect the relationships with the UK, start to see shift in economic focus, and a lot less respect for IP of the West. India will go the route of China. So that's the war is in a precarious state right now, with economic destruction, the current strategy to break the war. Before I continue, I'd like to tell you about Empire Val's official Not Suitable for Work art book. Volume 1 is all about the incredible Empress Sora. Here we have Joyous Sora and her amazing just daily life with the enchanted forest. And as it goes through its seasons, just her little slice of paradise. Now, the controversy in Ukraine may be over. The protests, will see whether or not they'll continue tomorrow. But in a surprise move, the president has met with and fired Seversky for his role in the clashes with the former defense minister Fedorov, who was removed last week. That triggered the protests in the first place. So Oscar Seversky is no longer the commander-in-chief. He's been replaced. And now, there might be a reset in the ongoing defense of Ukraine. Now, blah, 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 blah. Somewhere here. The only reason why I'm scrolling down is to get to the part where we find out Fedorov's fate. Fedorov met with Zelensky met with Fedorov, offered him a new position in the country's technology sector. It's not clear, according to whether or not he's accepted the position or waiting. I would accept it, basically. He's not going to get defense minister back. They're obviously Fedorov has upset someone, and Zelensky's fired him, so he's not going to go too far back. But Zelensky has, and as mentioned here, both sides have escalated. Frequently, Ukraine is intensifying its strikes on Russia. Yeah, they killed. Here you go. What's his name again? Was it Sea Dog, Sea Troll? Yeah, whatever your name was. There you go. There was an attack on a Russian warehouse by Ukraine. There you go. Yeah. Trolls never learn, do they? No. All right, so, yeah. That's Bobcam view before about to release on a ship. You can see the wake of the ship. I think it's an SU, not sure if it's an SU 25 or 35, but yeah, dry cargo vessel was hit, allegedly carrying cargo for the Ukrainian army, as well as workshop, ship repair yard, and yeah, so 2 dry cargo ships, a bulk carrier in Odessa and Kremorsk. Yeah, but here they say unmanned vehicles, so this could be a separate strike. But other interests as well were hit by UAVs and air-launched missiles. I love how they say precision, because you never know how precise a missile is, and no one's going to admit to their mistakes now, are they? So, Ukraine has been fingered as the culprit for carrying out attacks on international shipping near Volodsk. No shit. Who else would it be? The tanker was not Russian. It is Liberian registered. The other one was Marshall Islands registered. And they belong to Kazakhstan, not Russia. Yeah. And this is an international consortium seeking to break up major oil companies who are getting their debt. This is Russian debt, this is Russia, Kazakhstan, US, and Western Europe, both who put in billions of dollars into these ports. Kazakhstan, see this as an act of war, but they haven't gone so far as to publicly say it. But there are many people in many countries now who want to see Ukraine crushed for attacks on shipping, thinking that it's the low blow. Ships at sea are so vulnerable, and those sailors have enough to worry about. And if you're going to condemn the Houthis, condemn Ukraine, condemn Iran, condemn Ukraine. Just like the landmine bill, right? That's gone out the window. Now, these attacks, there's always going to be one that succeeds. For every one that succeeds, you rarely get told about those that fail. But so Russian federal authorities have opened a criminal case against a 60-year-old for planning a bomb. Desperate people in desperate times will do desperate things. And that is all I can say about it. Ukraine is exploiting people's desperation, and Russia has very large territory, which is hard to defend. Particularly when, I would say 50-50. I've seen enough propaganda and news stories to say that Russia hasn't learnt its lesson. That if they really and truly wanted to make peace or partner with the West or make better relations with the UK, they should have toned down the rhetoric long ago. And there's a long way to go for Ukraine to prove that they're not just a snake who put their hands in the pocket of the nearest prostitute and says, "Will you keep my hands warm, please, my fellow prostitute?" The Ukraine is a prostitute. She's putting your hands in your pocket, calling you the John, and you're letting it happen. Just because you say I like Trump doesn't mean I approve of 100% of everything he's done. I'm pragmatic. I'd rather work with what I got than throw the baby out with the bathwater, because you know what you're going to get with Democrats. Unlimited funds and eventual boots on the ground. Heck, Biden was preparing for boots on the ground, but he couldn't get a bill together because the commies, they didn't, I don't get it. They support this, they don't support this. It's like kabuki theatre where nothing is real. It's just shadows on the wall. You know, I'm maybe I'm out of term. Maybe kabuki theatre isn't the proper term. It should be used. It's a misnomer because I've seen kabuki theatre once, and there's more imagination and more artistry to kabuki theatre. With politics, it's just straight up, you know, it ain't what it used to be. I tell you, the politicians, they don't make grand speeches anymore. They're just lard asses waffling on. Maybe they always were, and you're just nostalgic for the days when people enunciated better. But there seems to be no cause that people rally behind that they truly believe in. It's just, how much can I hurt the Republicans? How much can I attack Christianity? And these political animals don't realize that the barbarians are going to tear them apart too. They're like the guys who put on the volunteer badge in Poland, to thinking, they're not really going to put us on the train. We helped them, right? What did Stalin call them again? Lenin. No, Lenin called them useful idiots. Yes. And what happened to the useful idiots? Well, millions got executed, didn't they? The perpetual revolutionary. And they're real cliche, the perpetual revolutionary. And Ukraine's full of them, or was full of them. Probably Ukraine is looking at this as a way of getting rid of their excess population. I know it's a cliche, but if you look throughout history, what happens when a country has high unemployment? They go to war. They find a way to go to war. And Ukraine found a perfect way to play the perpetual victim. And of course, the Democrats with their pity party. And so I think Biden prepared boots on the ground to appease the warhawks, but then to appease but then, and there would have probably been a few Republicans who would have voted for a Ukraine war, I think if Biden not had become mumbling and bumbling, he would have got his war in Ukraine. I think if there was no perceived weakness, no threat of Kamala Harris being replacing him, and every sign that Joe was healthy to take on a second term, I think there would have been enough warhawks to support a Ukraine war bill. Now that we've seen too much of Ukraine, we've seen the dirtiness, the corruption, the money, the Hunter Biden business, the Burisma turning out to stealing 150,000 cubic meters of gas or something a month. With some phenomenal amount they were stealing. Yeah, a gas company whose entire inventory came from siphoning off gas from a gas pipeline. And then often reselling it back to the victim. I mean, and the whole cutting of the Nord Stream pipeline, again, Biden, was all about manipulating the gas price to keep the gas price in Europe high, so the European economy would take a nosedive to protect the US economy. Russia's just the bad guy of convenience. And Republicans are caught in their own, in a bad position, because too many out there want Russia to be a bad guy because they need a bad guy. They need someone to blame. They need something to point to. They need a personification of their fears to take out their own anger and frustrations on. And so the war goes on, and the sad song sings on. And the victim in all this will be the soldiers who die. The politicians don't suffer consequences. The whole point, de-escalation, the UN was supposed to be de-escalating the war, but they're not. They're always picking a side, and it's a side of their most convenient trading partner. See, I used to believe the idea of commingling the world economies to bring about peace, but it hasn't. It's only a way to prepare for more wars. It's like no matter what you do, someone will find a way to turn it into an armed conflict, whether it's a civil war, an insurrection, an uprising, a coup d'etat, you name it, right? Straight up invasion. And there are often overlooked wars. There are how many conflicts going on in the world today? 17, something, 20? Who knows? They come and go. The Congo flares up. Mali, so-called Russian stabilization force, isn't. The Saudis thought they had it all beat, and what happened? The Yemenis enemies, Yemenis, still there, and they're getting, and to some extent, they were probably once the good guys. Although when they fought against the British, protected them, and then they decided to bite the hand that fed them. Okay, and now they're turning into pariahs. I mean, they probably were once moderate, probably once good guys, but the radicalization of war and arms insurrections have built a society built on obedience to the warlord. And until Yemen's only going to fix Yemen. The Saudis could keep killing them. I don't care. Let them. As far as I'm concerned, you stop being the victim the moment you become the oppressed. Once you start targeting shipping and saying pay us money, yeah. So, yeah, Yemen deserves everything it gets. But the point I'm trying to make is that just because Ukraine might have been a victim once of the Soviet Union, no, bro, once they put on those boots and started marching into Poland and Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia and Romania in Russian uniforms, nope, they stopped being the victim. Same with the coup d'etat. That was a coup against a legally elected government to install a puppet with less than 30% of the vote. And ever since, they've had puppets installed after installed and after installed. And Zelensky's just a long line of corrupt puppets in Ukraine. And Ukrainians just can't seem to figure it out. They just can't seem to want to recognise the fact that they are constantly promised change that never comes. And I've seen countries that have tried to clean up just become more sophisticated in their corruption. Germany, France. No, we've got to stop pretending that the liberal world order is the rules-based order. It's corruption. The bureaucrats, all of them, the office holders, they're all out there just to get as much as they can and share it amongst their friends. And when the majority stop tolerating that attitude, because too many think, oh, I'm going to get the trickle down. No, you're not. That ain't water, bro. That ain't rain. So thank you for watching. And please support the channel. Empire of Elves, that's one word. Empire of Elves.myshopify.com, your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. So thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. You support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, which you'll find in the description below, in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video, and bye for now.